How can they be in support of it if they don't know what it is? When I get out this parking lot, I'll tell you a little bit more about that. Up here in Maine, you know. I've been here 44 years. And I've learned a little bit about it. Not very much, but a little bit. How can you call a nation a democracy if the people support what they are told is its policy, and in fact its policy is, if anything, the opposite of that? The great work of art by Jackson Browne. I've been waiting for something to happen, for a week or a month or a year, with the blood and the ink and the headlines and the sound of the crowd in my ear. You might ask what it takes to remember when you know that you've seen it before. How a government lies to a people and a country is drifting to war. There's a shadow on the faces of the men who sent the guns to the wars that are fought in places where their business interest runs. On the radio, talk shows, and the TV, you hear one thing again and again: how the USA stands for freedom, and we've come to the aid of a friend. But who are these ones that we call our friends? These governments killing their own. Sorry, I got a cold. Till somebody finds he can't take anymore, and they pick up a gun or a brick or a stone, and their lives in the balance. There are people under fire. There are children at the cannon. There is blood on the wire. How many people even know that song? Well, Bill Moyers recognized its quality and included it in his masterpiece, if I may say so, which you ought to Google. It's 90 minutes long. You ought to watch it. You ought to watch it 8 times. It's called The Secret Government, The Constitution in Crisis. It was 1989, I think. It's all about the Iran-Contra scandal, the most blatant and, undeniable war crime festivities of the United States history. Reagan, the president with the most convicted felons of any president in American history. Well, they were all pardoned by Poppy Bush, who was not in the loop. He was not in the loop, so he didn't know anything about it. He that had been director of the CIA under Ford, Reagan's predecessor. Well, no, Carter was number 2. So the chief feature of this era, maybe every era, is that the people are under a concerted, elaborate illusion that is concocted by the powers that be. And it's hard to imagine that we'll ever come to a time when the people, the great mass of the people, are able to wrap their minds around such a torsion of reality, whether they can stand it or not, and whether they can understand it or not. That window won't go up by itself. But we have to try. We have to try. There are times in history when it is more possible and more successful than other times. Thomas Jefferson brags about the American colonists in a letter to one of his friends. He wrote so many excellent letters. My son gave me a collection of Jefferson's letters. And he says, I read a comment by a British fellow who was bragging about the method of making wagon wheels, cart wheels, by cutting a green sapling and curving it into this shape of a wagon wheel and then leaving it to dry like that. And he made a reference to the fact that, actually I don't know if the British fellow did, but Jefferson made a reference to the fact that this was in Homer, where Ajax, or Aias, slew a young Trojan and laid him on the ground like a sapling, tender and flexible. The second way that the Greeks of Hellas made their wagon wheels. And he says the difference between them and us and our farmers in Jersey, meaning New Jersey, is that our farmers can read Homer. And then I've got a copy of it from the Monticello.org, a photograph of that in his own hand where he writes it out in Greek. And it's also in the book in typeset. And so there are times when societies are a little bit sharper. I mean, the people that for whom the Federalist Papers were written, the New Yorkers, the farmers of New York were very educated people. And they paid great attention to all these newspaper articles, which were written by someone called Publius, which was several different people. Madison and Hamilton and John Jay and one other. But if the people will just wrap their minds around it, we can actually unhorse this thing. And we could change the evil that is being done in our name. Let me just give you the current example. Bobby Kennedy wrote a great article in Politico called, you can Google this, Why the Arabs Don't Want Us in Syria. And it makes plain that back in 1949, Qatar and the Saudis wanted a natural gas pipeline from this the biggest gas field in the world, which straddles Iran and Qatar. And the Syrians, who are Alawites, that is to say Shiites, didn't want to do that because this was a Sunni pipeline. And not only that, but it cuts the knees out from under Russia, their ally. their faithful ally all those years. And they made another offer in 2011, and Bashar al-Assad said no, because he wanted the Iranian pipeline to go through his country to Lebanon. And he made, in so many words, he said, we will not do this because it would harm our dear ally Russia, that has been a great friend of theirs. See, it would cut the legs out from under the Russian economy if they ceased to be the chief supplier for Europe. And so that is why 2 million refugees and 500,000 dead, and the entire nation of Syria nearly is in ruins. Not because the people were unhappy with the government, but it's because of that pipeline. Now, can you wrap your mind around that? Can you wrap your mind around that? How many people you know, I'm assuming you people are some of the smart ones, how many people you know could never wrap their mind around that, or never would be willing to? But what can we do to corner them so that they have to? That's my question. And I appreciate anybody that wants to make a small or medium or elaborate answer to that, because I need some help with this problem. Thank you so much.